are now on chapter 11, page 125. Aunt Polly learns the truth. Tom arrived home in a dreary mood, so a bad mood. And his aunt's first words showed him that he had brought his misery to the wrong place. "Tom, I have a notion to skin you alive," so she wants to hurt him, cried Aunt Polly. "What have I done?" asked Tom in surprise. "Done? You've done enough. Here I go over to Mrs. Harper's house like an old softy, expecting to make her believe all that stuff about your dream, and then she tells me that Joe told her the whole truth. You really were here and heard the talk we had that night. Tom, I don't know what's to become of a boy who acts like that. It makes me feel so bad to think you could let me go to Mrs. Harper and make such a fool of myself and never say a word." Tom hung his head for a moment. He had no answer to give his aunt. He could only try to explain that he didn't think it would turn out this way, but his explanation only made Aunt Polly angrier. Finally, Tom gave in and told his aunt that the real reason he had returned that night was to tell her that he really hadn't drowned and to ease her mind. So she went to Mrs. Harper's house, Joe's mom's house, to tell Mrs. Harper, like, listen to this dream that Tom had. And so she tells her, and Mrs. Harper's like, Joe told me the truth, and actually Tom came to your house and he saw all of that. He didn't dream it. And then Tom's like, "Oh crap, I'm really sorry, I didn't think it would happen this way, blah 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 blah." And he tells Aunt Polly, like, "Hey, I really did come back and I came to tell you that I didn't die, I didn't drown." Aunt Polly looked sternly and said, "Tom, I would be the thankfulest soul in the world if I could believe that you ever had such a good thought, but you know you never did, and I know it too." So she's like, "No, you didn't come to tell me that you didn't drown." She doesn't believe him. Tom pleaded and tried to convince his aunt that he really was telling the truth. "When you and Mrs. Harper got to talking about the funeral," he said, "I just got all full of the idea of our coming and hiding in the church. It seemed like such a terrific plan. I couldn't bear to spoil it. So I just put the bark back in my pocket and kept mum." So that's kept silent. So remember, he wrote the note to Aunt Polly on a piece of bark, which is a piece of a tree. "What bark?" Aunt Polly asked. "The bark I wrote on to tell you we'd gone pirating. I wish now you'd woken up when I kissed you. I do, honest." The hard lines in his aunt's face relaxed, and a sudden tenderness dawned in her eyes. She couldn't believe that Tom had really kissed her, but she could tell that the boy was speaking the truth. Still, she had to be sure. When Tom had gone off to school, Aunt Polly ran to the closet and took out the jacket he had worn on the pirating trip. She hesitated before putting her hand in the pocket. If Tom was lying this time, she couldn't bear it. Twice she put her hand in the pocket, and twice she pulled it away. But she could not resist. On the third try, she took out Tom's piece of bark and read the note through flowing tears. "I could forgive the boy now," she cried, "even if he committed 1,000,000 sins." So she found the piece of bark with the note on it saying, "Aunt Polly, I didn't drown, I'm okay." So that made her feel better. So Aunt Polly forgives Tom. All right, so think of how that makes Tom's character more interesting. He feels bad that he made Aunt Polly look foolish. He made her look dumb in front of Mrs. Harper, and he didn't like that, and he feels bad for that. And also think of Aunt Polly. She has a lot of emotion. She really does love Tom, but it's hard for her because he lies a lot and everything. So think about any quotes that maybe you can use from that chapter, okay? All right.